A woman mutters a curse under her breath. Clutching her forehead, she growls, "Shitty world, burn it all to hell." Her name is Belati Elton. As the eldest daughter of House Elton, she has lived dutifully. Her mother's funeral had just ended yesterday. But then she suddenly remembered she had reincarnated into a novel. 16 years ago when she was just a baby, she saw something too familiar in her mother's face and it clicked. That was a novel she read before she died. She cried for days without eating, until she lost her voice. The shock of reincarnation and the unfamiliar world overwhelmed her. Her mother, worried sick, cast a spirit magic spell on her. Her mother could do that because she was the most powerful mage of the century. Thanks to that, she calmed down almost instantly. But the side effect? Lost every memory of her past life, and so she lived all this time as Belati Elton. But the moment her mother died, the spell broke and her past life came rushing back. Her mind reels, what the hell is this? A transmigration? Are they serious? The more she thinks about it, the weirder it gets. Jet black hair, ruby red eyes. A stunning, bewitching beauty towering over her peers. Even if she just sits quietly, there's this pressure she gives off. For 16 years she thought she just took after her father, but it seems she was originally the eldest son in this novel. The original novel was a heartwarming childcare story. A young girl is adopted by a duke's family and lovingly praised while learning spirit magic. The family that adopted the heroine? None other than her House Elton. So far so good, but here is the issue. The position she reincarnated into, the firstborn of House Elton, was originally a cold, charismatic, incredibly sweet older brother to the heroine. Everything else is just like the novel. She wonders why is her gender the only thing that changed. Either way, she has lived her whole life as Belati Elton. And she's not about to change that now. Note that she was thrilled to be born the eldest daughter again because she was the eldest daughter in her past life too. In a broke family that only cared about her little siblings. Her parents' constant refrain was how they had no money, so she grew up tiptoeing around them. Forget allowance, even asking for food or transportation money earned her scoldings. By college they cut her off completely. She had to juggle part-time jobs just to survive. Meanwhile, her sibling got regular allowances and hung out with friends like it was nothing. After graduation, her parents tried to sweet-talk her, saying they would manage her salary once she gets a job, but she didn't land anything right away and ended up unemployed job hunting. So the reaction back then was terrible, telling her to figure out her job hunt herself and not even think about leeching off their old parents. Her mother told her everyone else managed just fine. Why was she so hopeless? And of course, her brother had to chime in too, saying what kind of money could she even make? She should just marry some fool and settle down. Back then, she felt disillusionment. She corrected herself. No, it was betrayal she felt back then. After that, she stormed out to cut ties with them. Her family called her cold and selfish, but she didn't care. She was determined. She had promised herself no more sacrifices for anyone. From now on, she will live for herself, by herself. But not long after, she died in a traffic accident. Now she thinks, what a pitiful life, just one hardship after another without a single break. She looks up when there's a knock on the door and tells the person to come in. The maid enters, telling her the Duke summoned her. She questions what about Melder. The maid replies he has been summoned as well. She decides to change into indoor attire and instructs the maid to fetch her clothes. The more she thinks about it, the more absurd it feels. A father who adopts the sunny, bright-eyed heroine. A warm big brother that dotes on his little sister. And here she is, stuck as the stoic, supportive older sister. She refuses to live like that anymore. As she steps into the room, her father says she's late and her brother chimes in, probably too busy primping again. And asks if that is more important than father's summons. Suppressing her anger, she puts on a smile and apologizes for the delay. Her father reminds her as she knows the official mourning period ended yesterday. She observes her father looks worn out and Melder's visibly depressed too. She was also devastated yesterday, as if her world had collapsed, but now that her memories are back, her love for mother feels gone. Her father turns to her and says for now, her engagement will be postponed. They will wait until the household settles. He then turns to his son and tells him his swordsman training will resume. It will be tough, but he needs to endure a little longer. He forces a smile and says yes father, though his face quickly clouds with a gloomy expression. As she steps out of the room, her brother mutters must be nice, no responsibilities, just playing around. She snaps, what did he say? Melder shoots back, is he wrong? She's just primping all day like today, then marrying some noble's son when the time comes. While some of them are drowning in bloody training and studies. He points an accusatory finger at her and tells her to be grateful to him. She lives comfortably because of his sacrifices. She bitterly muses what absolute nonsense, but then forces herself to stay calm. They are right outside their father's office. She simply turns around to leave. He screams after her, where does she think she's going while he's talking? As she walks down the hallway, she suddenly stops and slams her fist against a picture frame, fuming, why does that brat get all the sympathy? Her mother's favoritism ruined that kid's character. She turns to the maids and orders them to tell the butler to fix this. Their mother always pitied Melder for one simple reason. He became the heir in her place, the daughter who should have been born a son. In the original, Melder was the Tsundera's second son. He sucked at swordsmanship but had a natural talent for magic. That is why mother pitied him. The Elton ducal house has guarded the empire's north for generations with its swordsmasters. The current duke, her father Theodore Elton, is a once-in-a-century swordsmanship prodigy. In the original, the eldest son and sibling, the heir who took after father, faced no issues. But now that eldest son is a female. So Melder the male became heir instead. Forced to learn swordsmanship over magic, the pressure of succession and unsuited training weighed heavily on young Melder. Mother pitied him, and even the stoic father often expressed sympathy. Caught between them, she was left out in the cold, drowning in loneliness. Naturally, she grew up walking on eggshells, just like her past life. Two things changed because of her transmigration: gender and self-awareness. The firstborn's genius, swordsmanship and natural physique remained, per the original. But she saw these gifts as burdens. Since Melder struggled with swordsmanship, she couldn't flaunt hers. She deliberately avoided the sword, becoming the obedient daughter her parents wanted. She didn't know any better back then, but why should she feel guilty towards Melder? This is utterly unfair. All the patience she has endured feels wretched now. She let it all slide, she swallowed it all down. But Melder's condescending tone grated on her. She knows he acts so boldly because he trusts in father's affection. First she needs to remove father from this estate. After losing everything she should have had, she cannot stand watching Melder climb over her. Bilotti believes the best move is to use the original story. First, she needs to win over him. She will wipe the floor with him. In the original story, there was someone who swore absolute loyalty to the eldest son. His name was Zeppelin Vincent. He was the eldest closest aide, but just a supporting character. Behind the scenes, however, he was deeply entangled with the Duke of Elton, a handler of secret affairs managing a covert organization. He gathered intel related to the Elton family, watched over the staff and carried out secret missions like rooting out traitors. They were called the Watchers in the novel. And Zeppelin, as one of them, acted as their de facto leader. A truth revealed only in the latter half of the novel. Until recently, she hadn't recovered her past life memories, so she hadn't paid him much attention. Well, even if she had realized early, it is not like she could have won him over that easily. The reason Zeppelin became the eldest right-hand man in the novel was he was drawn to the eldest's talent. He had a soft spot for the gifted. As the Watcher's training officer, he craved talented individuals, so once he recognized the eldest's potential, he wanted to follow him right away. Zeppelin couldn't wait until he came of age and begged his father to let him serve as his aide early. Since their father trusted the eldest as his successor, there was no real opposition. But right now, she's not his son. She's not even the heir. She has had no interaction with Zeppelin whatsoever. She didn't even get proper heir training. She once took succession lessons with Melder. Father thought the more they learned, the better. But when Melder complained he couldn't focus with her there, she was kicked out. That was the first time she went against her parents' wishes. Father seemed torn, but mother reminded her she was the older one. Couldn't she yield to her younger brother? She had no choice but to give up the succession lessons. And after hogging all the learning, Melder had the nerve to say he was killing himself studying and someone else got to goof off. Must be nice. He would always take jabs at her. She studied on her own after that, but it only got her so far. That is why she has to make Zeppelin hers. Then she can gain his knowledge, his skills and even make use of the Watchers he commands. The next day, she comes to watch Melder's shooting session, but as Melder misses the target, he throws the gun in frustration, wondering if it's defective. Why won't it aim properly? She picks it up without hesitation, noting that even the safety mechanism is enchanted and that he really shouldn't treat the family's prized equipment so carelessly. He demands what she's doing here, but she's already scanning the untouched target board. Calmly, she raises the gun, fires once, and lands a clean hit dead center. She teases not defective after all. Melder stares at it, outraged. She hasn't even trained, so how is she this good? She thinks to herself that it's her secret hobby, one she's been practicing in secret. When he barks at her to leave because he needs more practice, she casually asks if he's planning to join the hunting tournament again. That he snaps, not again, but always. That event is a key imperial gathering only for the Duke's heirs. A smirk plays at the corner of her mouth and her eyes gleam. An heir who cannot even perform is just a walking embarrassment, really. She turns to shoot again while casually saying his sword training is already behind thanks to his mother's funeral. Does he really have time to practice hunting leisurely? It is not like heirs are required to join the hunt. He asks why does she care. She replies she doesn't, but she does care about father's reputation. Every tournament their heirs' poor skills are put on display. She just hopes the family won't be tarnished again this year. She empties the magazine, each bullet hitting dead center. Melder snaps, calls it worthless practice and storms off. She knows his lack of athletic ability might just be her stroke of luck. So he better take it easy and stay home because in that spot his big sister will be standing instead. That evening, a maid came with news that Melder wouldn't be joining the hunt. 2 days later, she is with Zion Agla, second son of House Agla, who offers to fix her hat. She tells him it is fine as long as it doesn't fall off, she's good. Mostin Fredo, eldest son of House Fredo chimes in. He didn't expect her to join and asks if her brother didn't throw a fit. He seemed like a little tyrant last time. She replies he said he didn't want to go. Even if he had something to say, he couldn't. Mostin remarks lucky them, that guy throws fits when he misses a shot. But Zion points out he always forced himself to come, didn't he? And asks her if she didn't have something to do with this. She admits she just said his hunting skills reflect on their father's honor. The choice was his. Mostin comments that is intense. Bilotti asks so he doesn't want her here. He says he would rather have her here. But then Zion asks, wasn't she banned from the tournament by her parents? Is she okay joining this time? She reminds them mother is no longer here. And thinks to herself, mother didn't like her doing anything rough or unladylike, that is why she practiced in secret but now there's no need to hide anymore. Compared to that, her father barely paid any attention to her. 2 days ago when she said she wanted to join the hunt, father wasn't thrilled but when she said she wanted to see her childhood friends again, he just told her not to shame the family. And with that, he finally agreed. She wasn't expecting warmth, but she has to say he's so consistent. When she arrives, a knight steps up saying he's from House Elton. He is here to assist with her hunt. She thinks as expected, they came too and everything is in place. Bilotti believes starting from today, father will slowly begin to see whether she is a disgrace to the family or its future pride. Meanwhile, His Majesty asks if everything is ready. He wonders who will bring him joy this year. Mostin tells him whoever it is, if it is for His Majesty, they will give it their all. Bilotti thinks that sly tongue of Mostin, now she sees who he got it from. No wonder they are the most politically savvy of the 3 dukes' houses. His Majesty announces to begin the tournament and orders everyone to return to the tent before the time limit. The hunt begins, and with a sharp shot, she takes down a bullseye that collapses to the ground. 3 knights have followed her into the woods, but she's already made her choice. She tells one to get off his horse and help gather the prey, announcing only one of them will follow her from now on. Then she turns to Zeppelin with a smile and asks shall they? He seems taken aback and blurts out yes my lady. It wasn't simply because it was his family's duty that he was responsible for cleaning after Duke Elton. He was captivated by Theodore's charisma and chose to serve him but recently, a major concern had arisen. It was because of Melder Elton, the heir who will lead the Elton Duchy in the future. Tragically, he was younger than Theodore, so he will probably serve Melder for a long time. That fact leaves him feeling helpless. Although he's still young and has potential for growth, his natural talent was different from the Duke's. Even if you could make up for that talent with effort, the young master seemed to hate swordsmanship in the first place. What he wanted to nurture was a gem that could slap Theodore's across the face. At times like these, Zeppelin was so envious of his father. His father taught a genius like Theodore about the Watchers, but his sister's words come to his mind as she had asked him why is he so picky. If he's going to be like that, he should just quit being a Watcher and she'll just take over. His younger sister, disguised as a high-ranking maid in the ducal household, never spared him any encouragement, always pouring it on like this. In the end, he made a decision. Before Melder's coming-of-age ceremony, he will hand over the position of leader to his sister and leave the ducal family. This is what he vowed just the other day, a promise that would make his sister faint if she heard it. But as he watches her, he feels that resolve wavering at the very fast pace. Bilotti asks him how many has she caught so far. He replies 8 birds, 4 rabbits and 1 deer. She says not as many as she thought, making him surprised. Last year Melder only managed to catch 2 rabbits. Bilotti Elton, the only daughter of the Duke in the Empire and the daughter of Theodore Elton. He has never met her before. Theodore wanted him to assist Melder at every hunting competition, and it was only for today that he ended up following Bilotti, who was participating instead. At first he wasn't too pleased about it. But Duke Theodore never told him his daughter was that good at hunting. The 2 knights collecting the prey are barely visible now. She even detected and aimed at the presence of animals he hadn't noticed. Zeppelin also heard she hasn't even had basic swordsmanship training, let alone archery, for her senses to be sharper than his. How is that even possible? A natural-born physique and superior physical condition, unwavering endurance even after firing a gun with a strong recoil, the stamina to enjoy hunting without a sign of fatigue and above all, to subdue Alexander, who is famous in the ducal household for his foul temper and great strength, with just one hand. If she had been the heir, he wouldn't have had to worry like this. He finds himself thinking, if she were to use a sword, would her method be similar to Theodore? For his first attack, Theodore always thrusts to the right. And Bellotti has a similar habit, he should correct that. He snaps out of his thoughts when she asks him what does he think about it. Only then he realizes she has hunted a red fox. For this hunting competition, only 2 red foxes were specially released. They are hard to hunt because they have the blood of demonic beasts and their score is higher than other animals. So if she wants to win, she has to prioritize catching the fox. Impressed, he claps and exclaims excellent work. She raises one eyebrow, which is a habit of Theodore when he's displeased with something. Zeppelin is surprised to find she resembles him in such ways. But then he wonders if she wasn't pleased with his reaction. She asks him again, what does he think? He asks about what? Her hunting skills. He has been following her this whole time. He says they are perfect. She truly possesses skills as outstanding as the Duke himself. She tells him, not as an ordinary knight, but is it impressive enough for the leader of the Watchers to acknowledge? His lips part in surprise. She knows about the Watchers of course, but how does she know he's the leader? He acts clueless and says he's not sure what she means. She questions, is that so? A chill runs down his spine. Her aura of intimidation is different from the Duke's. If the Duke felt like a ruthless chill, this is the kind that strangles a person. They're both brought to a stop as a sound rings out. Bellotti says that is the signal to return. When on Earth is the card for her fox going to arrive? He says he will go find it, but she stops him with a question. Has he ever thought of teaching a direct descendant of the Elton family? He replies he doesn't know what she's talking about, and that he will see her at the tent. He thinks to himself, this is ridiculous. Theodore would never allow it in the first place. What would he even teach her? But her question echoes in his mind, and he tells himself he needs to forget it. Bellotti thinks he's not afraid of her and is enduring better than she thought. Is it because he's the leader of the Watchers? Well, she has cast the bait, now she just needs to reel in it at the right time. As she steps down, Alex pulls against her grip. She tugs the reins firmly and tells him to behave. She thinks like master, like horse. Its behavior is just like its owner. Alexander is a horse that her mother bought as a birthday present for Melder. She was the only one who said she wanted a horse for her birthday, and in the original story, Alexander was the eldest's beloved horse. The Duchess gifted the horse she had her eye on to her beloved eldest son on his birthday. There was a passage like that. She feels disgusted just thinking about it. In reality, Melder has never even ridden Alexander by himself. He only ever managed to get on with his father's help. Because of that, Alexander has been cooped up in the stable for years. She felt sorry for him, so she brought him out just for today. Of course Melder threw a fit, but what could he do when father gave his permission? It seems even father thought it was a waste to keep that horse locked up. Now that she knows she can tame it, she considers taking him back too. Zion and Mostine call out to her. Zion asks where are the knights. She replies they're still in the forest taking care of the game. Mostine remarks looks like she caught quite a bit. She teases she probably caught more than him. He tells her not to be sad. He is a skilled person who came in second place in last year's hunting competition. She questions who came in first. He asks she didn't know. First place was her father. On the other hand, the Duke Elton greets His Majesty, who asks him if he is confident he will win this time. He only replies, he always does his best. His Majesty says since the last participant has arrived, they will now check the results and orders everyone to lay out the game they have caught on the ground. Mostine's father teases him calling him a cheeky brat. Did he catch more than his father again this time? He replies father knows he's good at hunting. Zion's father appreciates his hard work, making him smile. Bellotti watches thinking both of them have such good relationships with their parents. Bare to them her family. But then she dismisses those thoughts away. When His Majesty spots the fox caught by Duke Elton, he remarks it looks like the first place will go to Duke Elton again this time. Zion asks her why are her knights taking so long. Mostine adds at this rate the count will be over. She tells them they will be here soon. As if on cue, everyone's attention pivots to the grand cart being hauled by the knights. She smiles, thinking they are finally here. The treasure chests that will prove her worth. Her father eyes her cart with an unreadable look. She never thought her father would make a face like that and wonders if he was surprised. It doesn't feel bad, in fact, it feels great. As her knights begin unloading the animals from the cart, Mostine watches, visibly perplexed, recalling she had claimed this was her first time hunting. She retorts normally he would have to be this good to be called a genius. But he says this is too much. He didn't expect her to hunt this well. Zion points out she even caught a red fox. Monstein exclaims he couldn't find one even after trying so hard. His father, standing beside him, says Bilade's hunting skills are extraordinary. While Zion's father turns to Theodore and asks him why hasn't he brought his daughter before. His Majesty exclaims like father, like daughter. She didn't just inherit his looks, but his talent too. She bows her head and says she is still far behind her father. But His Majesty tells her not to be modest, he is pleased all the red foxes he released were caught. After a brief inspection, His Majesty remarks by the size and number of the prey, the Duke wins but the daughter surpassed him in the condition of the red fox pelts. Bilade was already aware she couldn't beat father in quantity so she minimized damage to the pelts while hunting. Besides, she's aiming for something else. His Majesty says by their judgment, Duke Elton has the highest score. Thus the winner of this hunt is Theodore Elton. His Majesty tells him as his reward he can take anything he desires from the treasure vault. His Majesty then turns to Bilade and says it was her first hunt. She claimed second place, so they expect great things from her. And declares for the second place finisher. They prepared a small reward and orders to bring it forth. A wave of surprise passes through the crowd as the reward comes into view. The second place prize is the Margalla Empire Spirit Sword. This was the reward Bilade was aiming for. She is pleased that it is unchanged from the original story. She has never seen her father this surprised before. This Majesty tells her to draw it now if she wishes and she pulls out the sword. He then says this prize may seem unfit for a lady who wields no sword, but she tells him not at all. She cherishes it more than any reward she has received. This earns a smile from His Majesty, who explains 200 years ago the 7th Duke Elton offered this treasure to the imperial family, and now it is returned to his descendant. A truly pleasing sight. She tells him to give such a rare sword, they are deeply grateful for His Majesty's boundless generosity. After he leaves, she thinks, no one can take this sword from her. As the Emperor said, her ancestor, the 7th Duke Elton, during the war with the Margalla Empire in the north, discovered this hidden spirit sword and presented it to the Emperor. Honestly, this story isn't her concern. The reason she cannot let anyone steal this sword is because like Alexander, the sword is also the firstborn. In the original story, there was an episode where the heroine Nesta tried to buy a coming-of-age gift for her eldest brother. When she wanted to buy a new sword, Meldur said that sword was a treasure he received from His Majesty after placing second in a hunt at 16. The hunt, Meldur mentioned, was this year's event, so she vowed to participate the moment she remembered. Her mission was to get Zeppelin's face stamped and snag this sword too. Hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Number 4. Turning to Zeppelin, she tosses the sword at him and tells him he is responsible for carrying this. He realizes how heavy it is, even 2 grown men would struggle to lift it and finds himself wondering just how strong is she. Zion strolls over and asks if she is sure about accepting the sword. She crosses her arms and replies there is no reason to refuse a sword bestowed by His Majesty and she likes it. Mostine also joins and says she really likes that sword. Then he will look forward to it. She teases she won't stop him if he wants to overreact. But he believes her holding a sword is already a good sign. Even if he didn't win first place, he's happy. Zion also cheers for her too. She feels a bit guilty. Those 2 worked hard to persuade her. Bilade was born with the talent for the sword, but her 2 closest friends don't know. They regretted her avoidance of swords more than anyone. Especially Mostine, who has been learning swordsmanship. He persistently urged her. Mostine had told her if she just wielded a sword, she would have been a knight for the history books, but she said it was really no good as their sister, she couldn't make them feel inferior. Mostine had snapped, telling Zion to persuade her. Back then, they told her she didn't have to endure so much for her siblings. Those words stung. It felt like they were saying all her efforts to earn love were pointless. Which made it more hurt because it was true. She ends up smiling. Mostine asks why is she smiling. Zion chimes in well he will smile too, today was fun after all. Mostine bursts into laughter, too. She knows since they kept persuading her to learn the sword, they must be thrilled she got the spirit sword. And to live up to their expectations, she will make Zeppelin hers too. That evening she enters her father's study after he calls for her. He casually says she did well today and asks what does she plan to do with the reward from His Majesty. She replies it is a treasure their ancestor offered and now returned. She will preserve it as a family heirloom. She thinks she will preserve it while actually using it. He replies, good thinking. She's relieved he didn't tell her to give it to Meldur. He then declares personally he would like to reward her. Does she want anything? She knew he would say that father always asks what she wants after she achieves something. Though he only gave Meldur those opportunities before. She replies she doesn't need a reward, the spirit sword is enough. But what if she tames Alexander? Theodore says she didn't ask for dresses or jewels, but Alexander, her brother's horse. She tells her father she is not asking to take him, but mother chose him herself, and it is sad to see him confined to the stables. Melder isn't ready yet, so as his sister, she could tame him properly. He asks can she tame Alexander alone. She admits it would be hard alone. She would need help from a skilled knight. Theodore then asks if she has any knight in mind. She replies Zeppelin Vincent would be perfect. Theodore asks why specifically him. She claims as he knows she is unfamiliar with the family knights. Sir Vincent assisted her diligently during the hunt, so she deemed him reliable. The other two who helped her struggled with Alexander, but Zeppelin was different. She knows her father must be shocked she picked the head of surveillance, but he will assume a horse taming task is harmless. He finally gives in to her requests. She promises her father she will turn Alexander into a loyal, gentle horse, and Zeppelin too, of course she thinks, not that she would ever return him to Melder. A few days later, after a brief greeting to Zeppelion, she climbs onto Alexander and tells him they're going for a ride. The vast plains are one of the prides of their estate because it is rare to find a place within the capital where they can comfortably ride horses. First, she decides to get farther from the estate. Once they arrive at a huge empty ground, she asks him what does he think. No one can enter here without direct family permission, and since it is spacious, isn't it perfect for practicing swordsmanship? He admits he is not sure what she means. Her expressions darken as she asks he still doesn't get it. She thought she gave him plenty of time to ponder. Is it still not enough? Before he can respond, she says fine. To lessen his worries, she will first answer what he's probably curious about. First about the Watchers. He must be wondering how she knew, but actually it wasn't that difficult. For someone in power within their family, manipulating information is essential. As for how she knew about the organization Tinge and the corrections, the notes he exchanged in code, would his curiosity be satisfied if she said she deciphered them? He jerks back in shock. He is asking how she found the notes with the code. If she decoded the decipher, of course she could find them too. He runs a hand through his face before admitting defeat, and asks how did she decipher the code. She replies she found the pattern and solved it. Is there any other way? He says, as expected, his judgment wasn't wrong, she's truly amazing. She thinks how could she easily solve a cipher created by experts? It was actually just knowledge she got from reading the original story. But she's the one who actually recalled that information, so maybe that counts. Circling back to her earlier question, she asks so what is his answer to her proposal. He points out the Duke wouldn't permit it. She retorts that is why she naturally arranged time for them to be together. He adds then the reason she specifically chose him. She cuts him off saying correct, she wants not only him but also the Watchers. He says even if she wins him over, it won't be easy to gain the others. The Watcher's master is none other than the head of House Elton. But she calls out to him and with a stern gaze tells him to just answer yes or no. And asks him if he wants to teach a direct member of House Elton. He jumps off the horse and drops to his knees, thanking her for giving him the opportunity to fulfill his dream. As a teacher and as a subordinate, until she commands the world, he will serve her with unwavering loyalty. That is what she expects. Even if the path she walks is through hell, he must follow her with trust. Zeppelin, who swore obedience, thus became her man. And when she wished to train in swordsmanship, he immediately began setting up a training schedule. The training ground was this plain, since her father was busy and Melder hated horseback riding. There was no better secret place to practice swordsmanship. In the original stories, Zeppelin was the most competent and reliable subordinate of the firstborn. She only managed to secure such a person belatedly. Now it was just the beginning. Like the firstborn in the original story, she was determined to rise to a position where no one could ignore her. After returning to the mansion, Bilotti asks the butler about her father and brother. Her father hasn't returned from the palace for a state council. As for her brother, he finished dining and is resting in his room. When Melder found out she was training Alexander, he caused a huge scene and was scolded by father. Since then, he hasn't spoken to her at all. Well, if he won't bother her, that is better for her. However, the atmosphere in the estate has been bothering her. The servants all look so gloomy and lethargic. Not just the people, but the entire vibe of the estate feels that way. When Mother was alive, the mansion was lively and bright in its own way, but now it's nothing but dreary. This is exactly as described in the original story. She wonders if the estate will stay like this until Nisha arrives. This is really the worst. Just living in a place like this could give birth to depression that didn't exist before. Speaking of that, she recalls Zeppelin told her if she wanted to increase her influence within the estate, she must first win over the servants. Knowing he's right, she instructs the butler to bring the head maid to the second-floor drawing room immediately. She also asks him to bring the latest furniture catalog with him. He asks why does she need a catalog all of a sudden, but when she shoots him a glare and he bolts off. She crosses her arms, thinking he always questions her orders like that. Charles, the original butler, never did that. There are quite a few things that need fixing. The head maid comes up with the catalog. She flips through it and asks the furniture currently in the mansion is from last year, right? The head maid apologizes explaining the seasons changed but they had no new furniture so she did what she could to adjust. She replies it is fine. She is not blaming her, mother was ill so there wasn't time or leisure to buy new furniture. In this society, when a new season arrives, it is customary for the lady of the house to redecorate the mansion accordingly. Her mother found redecorating troublesome, so the mansion always maintained a similar vibe. But still she used to adjust the color scheme to match the seasons but ever since Melder said he liked black, the interior had been dark all year round. With mother having passed away earlier this year, she was technically responsible for domestic affairs. Thanks to that, even though it is already early summer, the house still feels gloomy. Bilotti thinks the estate feels already so weighted down, even if the interior's like this too. There is no hope. Before the servants start to feel depressed, she decides to transform everything to bright and fresh. She instructs the head maid to order everything from the front to the rear. She is going to completely overhaul the mansion, so she should make sure to watch the quantity and get it all. The butler suddenly blurts out but she cannot just order furniture without the Duke and the young Duke's permission. But the head maid kicks his foot, knocking him to the floor, and replies to her of course. If they place the order quickly, they will receive it within a few days. She tells her good and then turns to Rover, asking him if his father Charles didn't teach him what happens when they raise their voice in front of her. 2 years ago, Charles, the mansion's head butler, retired due to illness. There was much debate about who would succeed him, but at Charles' request mother chose his son, an assistant butler, Rover. Rover originally assisted Melder and father, so he was more attuned to their moods than her. That is why she has tolerated his insolence until now. But she has no intention of doing so any longer. She warns him if he wants to work as the mansion's head butler, he better learn to read the room properly. The lady of the house has passed away. Who does he think will be responsible for the mansion now? He hesitates, so she adds father. How could someone busy with external affairs manage the household or Melder? He's already overwhelmed with swordsmanship lessons, what could he possibly do? She demands an answer who will be the one to manage the mansion from now on. And that concludes the video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want another part.